Hello everybody. So today is a celebration for two reasons. MicroStrategy is back above 400. It's been a long while, and then the ATM is back. I may be the only one partying about that. I don't know. We'll see in the comment section. But I love ATM. I think ATM is still the era of MSTR. The MSTR era is still an ATM era. Most BTC treasury companies still make their yield, their Bitcoin yield via the ATM, and so I love to see it back. So let's go. Let's talk about MicroStrategy. Back at 403 on the tailwind of a beautiful announcement from Michael Saylor. They bought almost 5,000 Bitcoin for $500 million, $530 million. Much of that money came from the ATM. And of course, Bitcoin was nicely up yesterday night, Sunday night, and as is usual for a Monday morning, market makers always make it crash, and then it recovers in the afternoon. And now Bitcoin is recovering, and MicroStrategy is getting some attention again from market participants. Love to see that. Let's look at this week's 8K, which was released today, compared to last Monday, right? Last Monday, which was from the week prior. The week prior, you may remember, there were a lot of geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. And therefore, I think this impacted markets, and this probably impacted the demand for STRK and for STRF preferred. You can see it's back in full force this week. We have roughly a double for STRK and roughly a triple for STRF in terms of issuance. The trend, the long-term trend for STRK and STRF issuance is up. Make no mistake, I didn't make the chart for this video again, but it is up. That chart is up, and I expect over time these numbers for the ATMs to keep increasing. Now, the surprise in today's announcement was, of course, the ATM is back. Many of us didn't predict that. I didn't predict myself, but I'm very happy to see it back. I'm happy that he surprised us with a nice $500 million of ATM. That is a very good thing in my view. Dilution is accretive when your price to NAV is a 1.8. That's when dilution is accretive, right? It's not accretive when your price to NAV is a 1.01, but selling a dollar for $1.80, that's very accretive. I want him to keep doing that, and I think I can make a strong case for that. So I really love it very much. Looking at the issuance, I've had another thought. It's I don't know if you've noticed, if you go on the strategy tracker website, on the MicroStrategy website, right, the strategy.com. So if you go on there, they show you their issuance, and they track it for us, which is nice. And you can see STRD, STRF, and STRK have fundraised roughly the same amount of money for all of them. 1.1 billion, 1 billion, 1.2 billion. Of course, that's the notional value. Most of these funds were issued at a positive price to par, which means that MicroStrategy earned an instant yield on top of a 1, because, you know, in the case of STRK, I think STRK is trading at a 1.1 or something like that on price to par. Same for STRF, trading kind of very close to that, trading higher than par, and so he's able to earn a yield on that. You can see it. You can see it very clearly here, because you for STRF, for example, the notional value issued was 28 million, but you issued 29.7 million, right? So the was it 1.4 million extra here? That's a gain. That's a BTC gain right at issuance. So I like that, but I like that we're all about equal size if you look at it. And if you see the different price of these based on the risk level, we are starting to see some sort of a risk curve developing, where indeed STRD being the riskiest of the three, where they can skip a payment and it's not cumulative, they skip a payment. Well, that's trading at a lower price than, say, a STRK, which is higher in the capital structure, or a STRF, I meant, or a STRK, which is not necessarily higher but has a call option embedded to it, and you can see that price reflected in the 112. So I love to see that he's moving in lockstep with all of the preferred issuance. Note also that the preferreds may eclipse the convert at some point pretty soon. I think it's pretty clear right now that he's not doing converts again, and I don't think he's going to do converts again. I may be on my own on this one, but I don't think he's going to do converts again. That's why I like BMAX. I think BMAX is very valuable because it's a way to get exposure to the converts, which now are a very special instrument. They are now proving to be a very special instrument because the BTC risk, look at the BTC risk assigned to the converts. That's very, very low. They were a sweet deal, these converts. And sure enough, Strategy benefited because they were able to acquire Bitcoin cheaper than it is today. But still, I think this is the era of ATM first, common, preferreds in the future, and preferreds are going to replace ATM, but that's going to take some time. That's going to be eventually. Point of this slide here, if you look, we're at 3.4 billion of total notional value. So money lent in a way, although perpetual preferred don't imply any payback, right? They're forever. That debt is forever. So anyways, that's 3.4 billion versus 8 billion of converts. And imagine they're gonna retire 1 billion in 2028. Well, my guess we're not going to have to wait until that, but my guess is that give it a couple months, give it 3 months, and we may have more preferreds than converts. And that's going to be, I think, a big deal for MicroStrategy because the preferreds have proven better than the converts in every way because you get a shareholder that is fully aligned with the stock and that wants the stock to go up and that doesn't want to short the stock. And that's why it's more superior, but it takes a little while to create the demand. On the preferreds again, do not fall for the engagement farming on X or on Twitter of folks acting surprised that a part of the ATM is being used to pay the dividends. This was always the plan. If you follow this stock any way closely, you know this was always the plan. And now I see people trending saying, as if it's their first time reading an 8K and they noticed that they noticed that and they're like, oh, I'm so smart, I found this nugget. No, this has always been the case. We always know that the common ATM, and it could be other forms of debt. Any capital, money is fungible. When money is fungible, you use that money for anything you want. Either buy Bitcoin, either pay for your operations, or either pay a dividend. I've been following companies for a decade plus. I can tell you, the number of companies who use debt to pay their dividends, that's very, very high because in their calculus, they're like, okay, well, I'm a dividend aristocrat. I've been paying a dividend for 35 years. I really need to cut the dividend, but I can't do that because if I do that, my stock price is going to be halved. Thus, I'm going to issue some debt and use that debt to pay the dividend, right? The worst offenders of this is Legacy Auto. If you look at the Legacy Auto balance sheet, Apple, in its own day, was an offender of doing this. And again, I'm myself falling prey to the engagement farming. This is not an offense. This is financial engineering. This is financial engineering at its best. If you have very cheap debt, it makes a lot of sense to keep your precious cash and to keep the terms of your contracts. And of course, debt instruments are contracts. You keep the terms of your contracts via other sources of cash, like the common ATM. So people acting like this is a surprise, I find this very annoying. This is not a surprise. He telegraphed that very clearly before, over and over again. ATM was always going to fund the Strike, the Stride, and the Strife ATM, and it is going to continue to be that way. And you could also see debt fund that dividend. Debt could also do it. So if you ever see that do that, don't be surprised. That's very obvious to me. Moving on to the ATM. The ATM is good, folks. The ATM is accretive. So if you look at what the ATM I use market cap to Bitcoin NAV, so it's not exactly MNAV. Mine is a little more optimistic, so I give them a 1.81. If you do Bitcoin Treasuries, which subtracts the debt, right? Bitcoin Treasuries gives you a 1.75, and you can see we're not that far off. Why are we not that far off? Because MicroStrategy has so little debt compared to the permanent capital. The point is, either way, 1.75 or 1.81, it's very accretive. You are selling $1 for $1.75. And so ask yourself, would you be sitting in the street and you would have like a stack of dollars, and each dollar bill you would sell it for $1.75. Would you do that deal, right? Would you do that deal? Oh yeah, there's a lot of demand. Here's my dollar bill. Give me $1.75 for it, right? That's exactly what Saylor is doing with the ATM. Yes, there is dilution. But the dilution is the dollar. The dollar is the dilution. The 75 cents on top of the dollar is a gain. So you lose $1, but you make $1.75. Would you lose $1 to make $1.75? That's the way to think about the ATM. And I know I keep pounding the table on the ATM, and I'm gonna put another plug for my video here that I made 2 months ago. Public math, I walk you exactly through the dilution, through how it works. It's 5 minutes. And I know that a lot of people have not done their homework on the ATM, and they have not sat down on a chair, take a piece of paper, go through the math. That's the only way you can understand it. So I have this video in a link before. Dilution is very good for Bitcoin treasury companies, and it's very good for MicroStrategy. And the main reason why it is very good today is because the market, as you can tell, the market is not yet entirely mature for perpetual preferreds. In fact, many people don't even know perpetual preferreds are a thing. Many people don't even know preferreds are so appealing from a tax standpoint. This is going to take, what, a year? I mean, we're in the era of the internet. I would argue a year. This is going to be taking a year, maybe more than a year, to educate people on the benefits of these securities. Just like MicroStrategy took 3 to 4 years for a market to finally start understanding what they're doing. And so the ATM is still the main game in town. That's why they were able to issue 519 million. 519 million ATM. Think about the BTC gain on that. With the same math, selling $1 for $1.75, calculate it, go do some division, and you'll see the profit is insane. The yield is insane. So Strike and Stripe look like a drop in the bucket compared to the common ATM. So we are still in the common ATM era. We are reaching the end of it. I think over the longer term, more than a year, the preferreds will outpace the common ATM, but we're not there just yet. And that's why I'm celebrating this ATM and the fact that he tapped it. That is a wonderful thing in my view, in my universe. So this was not financial advice, not investment advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.